I'm frequently told by people looking to publish their manuscripts that they are not interested in self-publishing. I'm often taken aback by that broad statement, specifically as someone who's reaped the benefits of self-publishing. I started on a more traditional approach and had to republish my book because I couldn't work with the publisher I was initially signed up with. So all that hard work of writing and publishing my book would have been lost if I turned my nose up to self-publishing. I have, in the last 5 years, really learned a lot about the publishing world. And although I understand the prestige surrounding traditional publishing, I think it is unwise to disregard self-publishing completely, particularly for authors who are not well known or who doesn't have a large following yet. So in today's episode, I am going to debunk some of the most common myths around self-publishing. I'm going to clarify some of the misconceptions and give you some actionable steps you can take to move yourself forward and to get that beautiful book that you have been working on into the world, and more importantly, into the hands and the hearts of the people who need the message you carry. Welcome, awesome authors. You are listening to the Answering the Call to Write podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Farndale, and this episode is brought to you by Paper Crown Media. Hello, awesome authors, and welcome to this episode of Answering the Call to Write, where we are going to debunk some common myths about self-publishing. So let's dive straight into it and start with myth number 1. Self-publishing means substandard quality. Now, this may have been true in the past, and let's face it, there are some books that you can tell this person has designed their own cover or they have done their own editing. And even though we talk about self-publishing, there are some parts of the publishing process that we do not want to do ourselves. You do need to have a professional person look at certain parts of the publishing process, particularly when you're doing it for the first time and you're not 100% sure about what you are doing. Today, we've got access to so many professional services right at our fingertips. With websites like Fiverr or Reedsy, you can connect with world-class editors, formatters, cover designers, and get some professional expertise that are of the same caliber, if not greater, than what you would receive with a traditional publisher. There are some great examples of self-published books that has made it big time. Did you know that The Martian by Andy Weir was self-published? It was so successful that it caught the attention of a publisher that led to a traditional book deal and a successful movie starring Matt Damon. Andy Weir did not sit around and wait to be picked up by a publisher. He self-published his work and he didn't look back. Self-publishing is often a great place to start, but if you take one thing away from today's episode, it would be don't wait for a publisher to acknowledge you before you start developing the gift you have of writing and learning about the publishing process. My biggest piece of advice is to not do your own editing, and also employ people who know how to create a professional book cover. These are probably the most important parts of your publishing process. You want to make sure that you get a quality editor doing developmental as well as line and copy editing. You also want to make sure that you have a cover that's going to speak to the reader, telling them why they need to buy your book, telling them what problem you are solving for them as an author. At Paper Crown Media, we have a full publishing service. We have a team of publishing consultants that have published themselves, and we have a ton of resources, tools, training, strategies, everything you need to get from the very beginning of writing your manuscript all the way to publishing and promoting your book. So do check us out at papercrownmedia.com. Another myth is that self-publishing is only for new or inexperienced writers. There is actually a lot of writers that are now realizing that it is more economical and you have a lot more control if you publish yourself. A lot of authors are setting themselves up as publishing companies because it gives them creative control over their publishing process as well as the content that they wish to distribute. There is also a big move towards hybrid publishers. Now, I know the hybrid publishing world do get a lot of slack, and I will say, having had my own terrible experiences, you do need to be super careful who you partner with when you work with a hybrid publisher. Hybrid publishing will give you the best of both worlds. It will give you all the services that comes with traditional publishing, a lot of support with marketing, although that isn't always part of the package. So make sure that you know what you are signing up for. You will have creative control of the content of your book. You will also have 100% return on your investment because you don't have to share royalties. Again, it just depends on the contract. So you may need to make sure what the terms and conditions are of the particular hybrid publisher that you employ. So here are some of the practical things that you need to look at. First of all, get some reviews of people who have worked with that hybrid publisher. Get a good idea of how consistent they were in their customer service and looking after their authors. Make sure that when you are signing up to a contract with a hybrid publisher, that you have clear expectations around timelines and how long it will take to get certain parts of that publishing process done. Make sure that the royalties are set out in black and white so you know exactly what it is that you will receive and what part of your proceeds will go to the publisher. Also, make sure that you know who owns the copyright to your manuscript, especially if someone notices that manuscript and you may want to be picked up by a traditional publisher or get a movie deal. Myth number 3 is that self-publishing is expensive. So yes, there are services that you will need to pay for that would have traditionally been paid for by the publisher. However, you will be paying for those services with a traditional publisher in some way or form. The bottom line is that you will have to pay for editing, for formatting, for cover design, and a lot of those expenses are paid for by the publisher through the royalties that you will be earning on your book. So whether you are paying those costs up front to get your book edited and formatted and to go through the publishing process, or whether you pay for it via the traditional publisher through royalties, you still will have to pay the people who are doing those services for you. This is why it is so hard to get picked up by a traditional publisher, because they will need to know that you are going to bring in a ton of money to cover the expenses of this book. And they will also contractually protect themselves to make sure that if this book doesn't sell, that they will be compensated. So you will need to check your contract when you sign with a traditional publisher. The truth is that publishing a book will cost you. The higher the quality of service for that book, making it look as professional as it can, the higher the cost will be of the services that you employ. It is so important to have a budget for your book and to do some research so that you know upfront what you can be expected to pay. Then you also need to decide whether you want to take the time to learn some of the things that you can do yourself, like formatting or designing your own cover. There are so many resources out there that you can use that are free to use, but it will take time to learn. So whether you are paying in money or time, publishing is an investment. At Paper Crown Media, we want to make sure that you have the freedom to choose how you want to invest. Our training library is equipped to give you all the tools you need to either do it yourself from scratch or employ us to help you self-publish. And we also give you the option to publish with Paper Crown Publishing if your book matches the vision and the message that we carry as a publishing company. Myth number 4 is that self-published books don't sell well. Now, I completely disagree with this. And here are some examples of self-published books that have sold a lot of copies. Now, this example may make a few people blush, and I know it's not maybe the best example for this type of podcast, but 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James sold over $100 million worth of copies. It was initially self-published as an ebook and a print-on-demand book. Can you imagine that? That is crazy. The Martian, as we mentioned earlier, by Andy Weir, sold over $50 million worth of royalties. It was published as an ebook on Amazon for 99 pence initially. Then there is a book called Wool by Hugh Howey, and this book earned 7 to 10 million from book sales and film rights. So just because your book is self-published doesn't mean that it's not going to sell. The books that don't sell are books that aren't marketed well. This means that you need to do your research. You need to know whether this is a book that people will want to read. Is this a topic that is interesting to people? Am I going to write this book for entertainment, or am I going to write this book to solve a problem? You need to understand who your readers are and where they are hanging out. And then you need to have targeted tools and strategies in place so you can reach those people. It's not about whether your book is traditionally published or self-published. People don't care. They read for entertainment or for getting a problem solved. Those are the main two reasons why people buy books. So if you can communicate what that book is going to do for someone and your marketing is effective, then honestly, it really doesn't matter which publishing platform you used. And one of the things that I have experienced and that I've seen many other authors experience too is that we often enter this creative writing space wanting to write books. We don't necessarily know how to market ourselves or how to market our books. This is why at Paper Crown Media, I'm so passionate about teaching this part of the publishing process because it's so often neglected. It is important to know how to market your book, how to market your message, and how to reach the people that you are called to reach. So in our training library, we do have a ton of resources to help you get started. We also have a wonderful book collaboration project called Paper Crowns. We've just published volume 1 on October 5th this year, and we are hoping to publish another anthology in October 2025. This project doesn't only give you a published chapter in the anthology, it also gives you an author website, a funnel, a massive marketing strategy, and a plan so that you can start growing your audience even before you write your main book. And the last myth I want to address today is the one that self-publishing is all about doing it on your own. Self-publishing does not mean that you have to do it all on your own. In fact, I highly recommend that you find a community where you can get support and assistance with every step of the publishing process. It is one of the things that I have come to value more than anything is the community of people I have around me that can help me navigate and figure out all the things that I struggle with. In community, there's always someone who knows how to do something that you haven't learned yet. So it is a powerful way to start taking action steps and move forward with this book that you are called to write and publish. There are so many communities out there that will help and support you. Amazon KDP has a brilliant community all of their own. There are tons of Facebook support groups for writing, publishing, illustrations. Any part of the process you can think of has its own community group. There are community groups for female writers. There are community groups for certain genres. I created the Answering the Call to Write Facebook support group simply because I wanted to help people who didn't have the funds and the money to do all the things they needed to do, and they had to learn how to do it themselves. So I started this community a few years ago, and anybody who needs help is invited to come and join us. There are loads of people in that group, awesome authors who will support you, come alongside you, and give you the help you need. It's free to join, so feel free to click in the link in the description and join our amazing community. You cannot do this by yourself. Publishing is hard. It is a tough business. Very often, it's not going to make you a ton of money at the beginning, but it is worth the investment. One of the things I will say as I close this episode is that many of our listeners are kingdom-driven authors. They know that it's not about the money, right? And yet we do need resources, we need money to move forward and do the thing that we feel called to do. Publish the book, share the message, connect with the people that we are called to reach. All of these things will take time and money. It's important to be part of a community that's going to support you and help you along the way. So I want to invite you to join the monthly subscription. In that subscription, you are going to find all the training, the mentoring, marketing support, and help that you need as you write, publish, and promote the book that you were called to write. I cannot tell you what a huge difference it makes to come alongside people who have the same passion, the same mission, and the same drive to expand the kingdom of heaven on earth. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope this has helped you. And if you need anything, drop us a line at info@papercrownmedia.com. We would love to hear from you and to know about the story, the message that you are carrying. Have an awesome week. See you next time. Bye.